It is history lesson time once again. So my friends, this video will essentially cover a few rare limited items that people really just do not talk about that much, whether it is due to them being unknown or because absolutely not a singular soul actually wants those items. And by the way, if you haven't, please watch part number 1 of this series because you might learn a thing or two, I don't really know. Now essentially, just to give you guys a little bit of context, a Roblox limited is considered to be rare if it has less than 125 existing copies. But the ones that I'll be showing you in this video are far more rare than that. So ladies and gentlemen, to start off the list at a good note, we have Living Art the Starry Night. This item is actually kind of funny because it was originally earned from the Roblox fan art contest, where you had to submit a piece of Roblox fan art in order to compete, for this item. I very rarely see people actually talking about this item. Understandably so though, I'll be honest with you. As you can see, this item is very obviously supposed to be Van Gogh's Starry Night painting, which in my opinion is really cool. It is actually one of my favorite paintings of all time. As you can see, right there. Yes sir, you see the oops, over there, no, this is kind of sus. You see over there the painting. So the issue sort of arises when you realize there are many other living art items that look completely similar to the Starry Night one. There are actually 6 in total, and pretty much the only relevant one is the Starry Night due to its incredibly low amount of copies. Well, actually, remember the fan art contest that I mentioned earlier? Well, ladies and gentlemen, there were only 9 winners in total, making it so the item only had 9 total copies, and 3 of them were actually terminated over the years, making this actually the rarest item in this entire list, with only 6 copies in existence nowadays. If you had let's say, I don't really know, Living Art the Scream, which is another one of these limited items, that would already kind of do the trick aesthetically speaking, and the only difference between the Starry Night and every other living art item is, the amount of copies, really. There really is no secret to it. Matter of fact, there was recently a declined offer of 15 million Robux for this item. So that is honestly very impressive in my personal opinion. It's kind of impressive though that, making Roblox fan art 13 years ago would have netted you 15 million Robux nowadays. It's just kind of crazy to me. Okay, so next up in our list, ladies and gentlemen, we have the Crimson Thug Shades. My personal favorite out of this video. Okay, please do not judge me. You might have already heard of its counterpart, the Peach Thug Shades, which infamously took half a year to sell out in the catalog, despite its very low stock of 50 copies due to its outrageously high price for the time. Well, my friends, contrary to that item, the Crimson Thug Shades, they actually look nice and wearable, and they sold out almost immediately. It was sold for 10,000 Robux less than the Peach Thug Shades, and also had 10 less original available copies. So 40,000 Robux, 40 copies, really cool. However, only a whopping 15 copies remain nowadays due to one singular person being terminated with 17 copies of it back in 2017, making this one of the rarest Roblox limiteds of all time. I'm gonna keep it real with you, the only reason this item is not particularly known or talked about enough is simply because it literally does not get traded. Matter of fact, if you take a look at its Rolling Mon's page and you scroll down a little bit, you are going to see that only a total of 2 copies have moved for 3 whole years. And you might think to yourself, okay Pedro, but this could be normal, because this item is very rare. But then you have items like the Bling $sign necklace, which actually has 13 available copies, so 2 less than the Crimson Thug Shades. And this item literally has 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 copies moved in the last 3 years. So I'm gonna go ahead and say that Crimson Thug Shades owners, they just do not trade their copies because they know how unbelievably amazing their item is. Sorry, no glaze, okay? It is speculated that this item has had offers of well above 10 million Robux, which is genuinely mind-blowing. I don't know for sure, it's just speculative, so, Next up, we have the Antenna Antlers. Similarly to the Starry Night item, it was also obtained from a Roblox contest. This time from the Roblox commercial contest. contest. And yes, my friend, you guessed it. Participants had to make a Roblox commercial in order to compete for it. In total, there were 14 individual owners, but 15 copies of this item ever made, and all of their commercials were shown in different Roblox live streams. Rest in peace, by the way. So apparently there were supposed to be 15 winners, but I suppose they ended up giving 2 to the same guy. Cryptize, you know, because according to the wiki, he actually won twice. So, you know, greedy guy, very greedy guy. Nowadays, ladies and gentlemen, only 9 copies of this item remain intact and actually obtainable. In my opinion, this item is very interesting due to the user Arcade Rockstar holding a whopping 4 copies of this item. So, you know, 4 out of 9, almost a 50% hoard. The funny part actually is that since he got all of these copies a considerable while ago, like 3 to 4 years ago, some of his trades, they did not age super well, I'm gonna be honest with you. And I'm gonna keep it real with you, even though this item is actually extraordinarily rare, I still do not think that it will go for that much, you know, because, you know, technically speaking, that is an offer of over $100,000 if you really think about it. So, you know, Arcade Rockstar, you have a very cool hoard, but I don't really know, bro. Actually, I have personally asked one of the most active Antenna Antlers owners, and he told me that his best offer so far for his copy was of around 20 million Robux. So approximately like $70,000 if you convert to the VEX rate, which, you know, is still kind of cool. Now, my friends, the second to last item is Memento Mori. I took a look at a few old YouTube videos and I've seen this item being regarded as the rarest Roblox item, which is not really true, but that does not mean that this item is not rare. Matter of fact, it is very rare. This item is actually very enigmatic in my personal opinion due to being part of the whole April 1st, 2012 hack thing. From what I could find, according to the Roblox wiki, so that could be very, very wrong, this item was supposed to have an original stock of 26 copies in total with a price of 1,000 Robux. However, 13 of those copies were basically completely deleted from Roblox after the hack. You know, this is a special case because they were not like only terminated or anything like that. These copies were simply completely wiped out of the website. There is not a single trace of most of these copies. Like, let's say, I don't know, let's pick the pink Sparkle Time Fedora as an example. Of course, this item has had a lot of terminated, you know, copies over the years, so the total amount of copies is not really true. There are far less than 100. But if you take a look over here, you can check every single serial individually. You can see what happened to each serial. We can see that this guy still actually owns this item and he is not terminated. He only has his account privated, as you can see right here. But if you go over here to Memento Mori, you're gonna see that it also has a total copy number of 13. And if you go through the serials, you're gonna see that there are many serials missing. This is the serial number in order. You're gonna see that 1, 2, 3, 4 are missing, 6, 7 is missing. So many of these serials are missing. Even 26, as you can see over here, is also missing. Nowadays, only 9 unterminated copies of this item are actually roaming around. It's actually kind of funny to me how, despite this item being significantly rare than something like Crimson Tug Shades, it has basically 3 times more copies traded in the last 3 years, with Sparactus holding an impressive hoard of 33% of the whole supply. And according to the man himself, ladies and gentlemen, there has been an offer of $60,000 for it, and also an offer of Black Valkyrie 1v1, which is currently valued at 11 million Robux in Rollimon. And now for the last item, ladies and gentlemen, we have Telemon Hair. Exactly, dude, like, you know, the guy from Forsaken has a Roblox limited made after him. I'm sorry. You know, this item is actually a lot more common than I thought it was prior to actually making this video, having 35 copies in total being made. Surprisingly, this item was literally just a regular on sale item back in 2010, costing 5,000 Robux. And of course, nowadays, I mean, with an item like, I don't know, perfectly legitimate business hat being almost 5,000 or over 5,000, you're probably thinking to yourself, okay, 5,000 Robux is very cheap. My friend, nah. Let me put into perspective to you, ladies and gentlemen. You see here the Void Star, which is currently valued at 3.2 million value. Well, if you go over here and you scroll all the way down to 2010, you're gonna see that these were being sold for an average of like 800 Robux, 1,250, you know, around 1,000 Robux. We can see that they were being sold at around 1,000 Robux on average. So that means that for for the price of Telemon hair, you could buy 5 Void Stars. Do you know how much 5 Void Stars is right now? 16 million Robux. So yes, this was very expensive for the time, and I'm not at all surprised that this item only had 35 copies sold in total. And currently only 22 copies of Telemon hair remain available. I'll be blatantly honest with you, the reason this item is unknown is simply because most of the community deems this item to be one of the most hideous limiteds ever. Even though I personally disagree, I feel like this hair is, very stylable. That seems to be the most common opinion about that poor item. I literally do not know any owners of this item, so I am unfortunately unable to find any recent offers for it. However, the most recent offer that I can show you guys is the one from November last year, where it went for a whopping 8,200,000 Robux in a trade. Absolutely wild to think about, but still not even close to some of the other items in this list. And guys, listen, let me know if you guys would want me to make a part 3 of this series, because I really do feel like there are a few limiteds that are just really not spoken about, and I still have not really covered them. So thank you very much for watching. Thank you so much for every single member of the YouTube channel. You guys are absolutely amazing. Thank you so much for the support. Subscribe to the YouTube channel, join my Discord server, follow me on Twitter, and ladies and gentlemen, I'll see you in the next one.